Good afternoon, everybody. Keith here. Hey, we're going to wait for a few minutes. Let people hop on. In the meantime, I'm going to prepare hope everybody's having a good day today. Living life, loving life, enjoying it. And as we get started here, I want everybody to think about something. We got this stuff in this area called legal tender. And nobody ever sees what they're talking about when we talk about lawful money. And what I want everybody to realize is that Federal Reserve note, or Federal Reserve prints up the Federal Reserve notes. So, if the Federal Reserve is the one that prints up the Federal Reserve notes, and they're just a corporation, do you suppose they're the ones that print up the lawful money? Well, if you think about it and you do your research, you find out, nope. They don't print up lawful money. But the Treasury does, or used to. They don't really per se print up lawful money these days either, but they do print up something else. And actually, I guess I can't even say that they print it up, but they're responsible for it under their fiduciary assignments. And that is the birth certificate. Under Title 31 of the United States Code, Section 1321, subsection 73, you'll see that the U.S. Department of State is the fiduciary assignment for the estates of decedents and trust funds. And the trust funds that we're talking about are dependent upon that one word, funds, F-U-N-D-S. Funds, as defined within their own codes, are the funds provided by the International Monetary Fund. So let's make sure that we understand that the Federal Reserve notes printed for the Federal Reserve are under the International Monetary Fund and have no substance, no value to them. They have no intrinsic value backing them up. However, as part of the obligation of the United States and part of their fiduciary duties under the U.S. Department of State, they are the head of the Comptroller General, Comptroller of Currency, through the Treasury Department. And we have a program in these states called the Treasury Offset Program. Now, the Treasury Offset Program is basically, let me see here, it's the Bureau of the Fiscal Services Debt Management Services. Bureau, a service, of the Fiscal Services Debt Management Services. So basically it's saying it's the service of the Fiscal Services Debt Management Services. So basically they provide a lot of services. Anyway, one of their services is they are the accounting department. So when we do this, when we go through all this research about the lawful money and legal tender, and we realize that this Treasury Offset Program is available, it says that it's available, its fiscal services disperse federal payments, such as federal tax refunds for agencies making federal payments, known as payment agencies, such as the Internal Revenue Service. Creditor agencies, such as Department of Education, submit delinquent debts to the Fiscal Service for collection and inclusion in the Treasury Offset Program, and certify such debts qualify for collection by offset. Now, the offset is the reduction or withholding of a payment. If you look at the term payment, it has all to do with the commerce stuff. And it's just a matter of ledgering. A payment is just a matter of moving things on a ledger. That's all it consists of. It doesn't consist of handing over some kind of substance in exchange for something else. It's just a matter of changing or moving numbers on a ledger. So the debt management services what they do is they collect the delinquent debts, such as like the taxes, child support, alimony, things like that, in accordance with the various codes and procedures that monitor those events or events concerning that. And when we talk about events, we're talking about employment. Employment's a big one. They call that an event. That's an action that you're partaking in that is discerned either on the public side or the private side. And this is where the whole problem starts, is we're not making sure that when we go to these different places to get a job, that we're actually doing that. We're getting a job. We're becoming employed instead of contracting on a one-to-one basis, which we have a complete right to do in our private capacity. We have a right to go up to McDonald's and say, hey, listen, I can do a better job than this guy over here that's making $7.50 an hour, but I want $10 an hour, and I want it in lawful coin, and da-da-da. We can make our own, we can amend our own employment application. Now, just because that's the way we've been indoctrinated into doing things, is just going in and filling out that application according to their standards, doesn't mean we can't change that. This is a world of contracts, and a application is just a form of contract. It's an agreement. That's all it is. That's all a contract is an agreement. And so when we do that stuff, we've got to be aware of the words and everything that they're being used. So make sure you do that. In regards to this, the Treasury Offset Program, though, before an eligible federal payment is dispersed to a payee, the payment information is compared with the debtor information. And this is where the birth certificate comes in. Because when we get down to the taxes and the employment applications and the bank accounts and the Social Security accounts and the driver's license and all of that, it's all dependent upon that United States citizen. And for those people in other countries, you're going to have the same thing. You're going to have your citizen status, and you're going to have that birth certificate, and those are the same person. And that's what they're charging. And in return, hey, George, how you doing? Let me see if you've got an invite button. Go ahead and see if we can't pop you up on this video here. I know you've got some Treasury Offset Program information too. So I'd be glad to have you join us here, George. Basically, what they're going to do is they're going to match up all that information. And the information that's on that birth certificate is styled in a certain manner. And the information that goes along with this Treasury Offset Program is styled in the same manner. And so when you call these people up and you do these, and you can check it out, just Google Treasury Offset Program. Treasury Offset Program. And I'm sure other countries are going to have the same thing. Just Google Offset Program, Citizenship or Citizen Offset Program, Citizen Debt Offset Program, something like that. Just Google that stuff. That's how you're going to get this information. And so anyway, here in America, you check out Treasury Offset Program. And the Treasury Offset Program, what they're going to do is they're going to match up that information. And they don't care who they're talking to on the other end of the phone. You're still going to have to match up that information. And that's what the courts are doing when they do this shit for child support and everything. They're getting access to that Treasury offset and getting funds moved over to their side of the ledger, and then coming after the living man for their Federal Reserve notes too. So understand that. That's what's happening in this stuff. When they give you fines for court, they've already gotten paid. They've already matched up that information through the Treasury Offset Program and gotten paid. They've gotten paid by movement of those numbers from one side of the ledger to the other, so that when they go to a bank, they now have access to those funds. The International Monetary Fund provides all of those funds. They do not provide money. They do not provide lawful money. They provide Federal Reserve notes, which are known as funds. So it says, we the people are to use this offset. And this is the irony. This is my own comment. We the people are to use this to offset the obligation of the United States, known as the debtor, by issuing a signature qualifying the use of the transmitting utility or vessel or citizen of the United States. The citizen of the United States is known as a vessel or a transmitting utility. It's a transmitting utility for conducting commerce. And it's issued by the debtor upon us so that we can use our signature to offset that debt as obligated by the United States through HJR 192 and Public Law 7310. So, understand that our exemption is because we have what's known as a compelled benefit, the use of the government citizen in a monopolized currency system. So, how do we fix this? I'll tell you what. If every American, every person, every man and woman understood this and started using that offset program to get through to their exemption, it would clear out the books, it would cause a financial catastrophe, and we would be left with nothing but at least some kind of resolution, some kind of solution. Because as I've stated in one of my previous posts, to allow a fraud to continue means that it is still based in fraud. Period. And the only way to fix the fraud, to keep it from existing, is to take it out of existence. So if we're using this monetary system that's based in fraud, if we keep on using it, we're still continuing that fraud. If we find a way to destroy it and build a different system, then we've at least found a solution to that fraud. That fraud no longer exists. A new fraud might come into existence, but the old fraud no longer exists. And to let an old fraud, a pre-existing fraud, to continue does nothing but allow it to continue to grow. So we have to understand, if this is truly a fraudulent system, then we have to destroy it somehow. And I firmly believe is the best way to destroy it is by using the Treasury offset program the way it's meant to. How many automobile manufacturers do you think will have automobile dealerships willing to sell cars under the presumption that they're motor vehicles if we keep using our exemption a week after we sign the documents by going to the Treasury offset program with all the information matching up the TIN, tax identification numbers, and getting a complete offset? Do you suppose the dealerships will be able to remain in business if they're not able to collect from both sides of that ledger? If they're only collecting from one side of the ledger, which is a movement, which is a payment of numbers from one side to the other, without actually collecting the Federal Reserve notes that they can turn around and disperse to their employees, do you think they're going to stay in business? Probably not. Same with your utility companies. If everybody started using this offset, the utility companies would go out of business, even though they're non-profit. Imagine that. You realize that your utility companies are 501c3s as well. Now, when they use that tax identification number every month to access the account and do a Treasury offset, they're getting that payment on the ledgers. Okay? Now they're going to turn around and try to convince you that you owe the Federal Reserve notes in order to make payment when the payment's already been done. If at the end of the month you file a UCC 11 on the utility company doing business with that citizen, and it comes back that there is nothing owed, You can take that to the utility company and show them that your UCC1 shows that there's nothing owed. So if there's nothing owed, then they've already been paid. So now you can call up the Treasury Offset Program and say, hey, I've got this information and this information. Is this been set off yet appropriately? And they should be able to tell you that, yeah, that utility bill's already been set off. This is how you discover the fraud and expose the fraud for what it really is. You don't need to do an accepted for value. You can call the Treasury Offset as long as you've got the correct information, and take care of that over the phone. Period. And who's got the correct information? Who's got all the citizen information that they're going to need? Who's going to have the tax identification number? And listen, these people might want to try to screw you up and ask you dumb questions like, well, what's the tax identification number, when they already have it. If they befuddle you, just ask them a question. Well, what do you mean? Clarify the tax identification number. What style is it written in? Is it 3 numbers, a hyphen, 2 numbers, and 4? Is it 3 numbers, a hyphen, and then 7 numbers? You got to find that information out. But that's basically what it is. Your Treasury Offset Program is there to offset all of these ledgering accounts for all the utility bills, your loan payments, education, anything you do in commerce that you sign a contract for, where they don't provide you with a means of lawful pay, lawful money. So you can do your offset through all these bills through the Treasury Offset Program, because the obligation is that of the United States citizen, and the citizen is the debtor, not yourself. Yourself is a living man who went through the motions to create the energy, or use the energy to create whatever products and produce, and that's where the true value lies, not in the citizen. Citizen is just a transmitting utility, and you should start using that transmitting utility to transmit that debt. Correct. Bob Roper says, I get my electricity under my birth certificate name, but have given them no Social Security number. Well, those are two different persons. Understand, people, the birth certificate is a different person than the Social Security person, is different than the driver's license person, is different than the library card person, is different than the bank card person, is different than the credit card person, is different than the local convenience store discount card person. They're all different persons. Every last one of them. And that's why it's so important to learn how to operate these persons. You're gonna sit there and try to be a puppet master of somebody else's person. You're gonna get in trouble. You're gonna get the strings all tangled up, and that puppet's gonna get in all kinds of disaster. Whereas if you're the puppet master of your own persons, you're rid of that dead entity created by the United States, and create your own person through your own private trust. And understand, people, if you're doing business under your own private trust, even if you're doing business, it doesn't mean they can tax you. You're a private entity. Your books are not open to the public. You can run any kind of goddamn business you want, and your books are not open to them. They don't have subject matter jurisdiction if you're in your private capacity on your own private property. So understand this stuff, people. The lawful money is printed by the Treasury, and that is the birth certificate. The birth certificate, even though it's not used in circulation like money is, it is the lawful money. It is your exemption. And the Treasury Offset Program applies exemptions for anything you need it for. That's why there is an exemption, because they can't provide lawful money. And therefore we have HGR 192 and Public Law 7310. Correct, Rita, they do. Everyone is a different person, and everyone has a different account number. The number of the beast. Infinitely. So understand this stuff, and and so if you are going to have some kind of person for as a transmitting utility to perform commerce, at least create your own so that you can manage it and keep those strings working with your own fingers. If you're trying to manage somebody else's puppet while they've got their hands on it, all you're going to do is interfere, and that's called interfering with commerce. So think about this stuff, people. If you really want to get some peace in your life, educate yourself. Educate yourself how to use this Treasury offset program and set off all this debt that is non-existent. Remember what I said. It's a payment is just a movement from one point on the ledger to another. It can be from this ledger to another ledger. It could be this number into separate numbers over on this other ledger. That's all it is, though. It's just a movement of numbers. Whereas lawful money is an exchange. It's a true exchange. Anyway, that's about all I got for now. I hope everybody understands this. I hope everybody knows the importance of this Treasury offset program. Google it. You'll know exactly what you're looking at when you see it. Those people that are not on America, you can Google various different things and find it. Offset program, citizen offset program, Treasury offset program might still work for you over there. I don't know. Lawful money offset program, I don't know. Just be creative with your mind and use the words. You understand them if you know them. So anyway, I hope everybody's sharing this stuff. It's great information, and I think we need to share it with everybody. It's the only way we're going to get around all this stuff is by educating each other, because they're not going to do it for you. We already know that. I'm 52 years old, full-grown adult, and it was never taught to me in public education system. None of this stuff. They didn't get anywhere close to it. Even in the driver's education, they never taught me once about my right to travel. Not once did they even speak of it. So, anyway, if it weren't for you guys, I wouldn't be doing this. God bless. Love you. Have a great name. Bye.